All right, let's talk about something that's pretty much every driver's worst nightmare. You get into a car accident, but the normal, straightforward process of sorting things out just isn't available. Today, we're going to break down the financial safety net that's there for you when things go seriously wrong on the road.
So just imagine it for a second. There's a collision. You're shaken up, but you're okay. You get out to swap details, and then you hear those dreaded words. The other driver, no insurance. What on earth do you do now? Or, and this is maybe even worse, what if they don't even stop? The crash happens, and they just speed off, a hit and run. You're left with the damage, maybe an injury, and absolutely no one to hold accountable. So, what then? Are you just stuck dealing with it all on your own?
Well, thankfully, the answer is no. You are not left high and dry. Here in the UK, there's this vital organization that was created for these exact nightmare scenarios. It's called the Motor Insurers Bureau, or the MIB for short, and it's basically a financial safety net for our roads. So, what exactly is it? Well, the MIB is a private company, and its entire reason for being is to step in and fill that huge gap in the system. Its job is to compensate victims of traffic accidents when the driver who's at fault is either uninsured or has simply vanished without a trace. And here's the really clever part about how it's all funded. The MIB isn't a government body. Nope, it's paid for by a levy, basically a fee, that every single company that sells motor insurance in the UK has to pay into. So in a way, the insurance industry itself funds this critical backstop for everyone. Now, you might be thinking, is this really that big of a problem? Well, yeah. The MIB estimates there are over 1 million uninsured vehicles driving around on UK roads. Let that sink in for a second. 1 million. That is a staggering number, and it just shows you how many people could be left completely helpless without this system. Okay, so here's where things get a bit more detailed. The MIB doesn't just have one big pot of money that covers everything in the same way. It actually operates under two separate agreements. So let's break down the two main types of claims you need to understand: the uninsured driver versus the untraced driver. And this isn't some new idea, by the way. The MIB has actually been around since 1946. But for what you and I need to know today, the really crucial rules are all laid out in these modern agreements: the Uninsured Drivers Agreement from 2015 and the Untraced Drivers Agreement from 2017. And this just lays out the core difference perfectly. On one side, you have an uninsured driver claim. This is when the driver is identified. You know who they are, you have their details, they just don't have any valid insurance. On the other side is the untraced driver claim, and that's your classic hit and run. The driver is just gone. You can't identify them. So why does this distinction matter so much? Well, because it completely changes what you can actually claim for. For an uninsured driver, where you know who they are, the MIB covers personal injury, fatality, and property damage. But, and this is the huge one, for an untraced hit-and-run driver, it only covers personal injury and fatality. Damage to your car in that scenario is not covered by the MIB. Okay, knowing the difference is one thing, but making sure you can actually make a claim is a whole other ballgame. There are some absolutely crucial, non-negotiable rules you have to follow to make sure your claim is even considered valid. Let's focus on the trickiest one, the hit and run, the untraced driver. If this happens to you, there are 3 things you must do, no exceptions. 1, report it to the police as soon as humanly possible. Don't wait. 2, note down every single detail you can remember about the other vehicle. And 3, if anyone else saw what happened, get their contact information. Witnesses are pure gold. And I really want to hammer this point home. That police report is not just a good idea. The MIB states it plainly. They will check with the police to confirm that a report was made. It's an absolute requirement. It's the official record that proves something actually happened and that your claim is legitimate. So let's zoom back in on that property damage rule, because it's a really big deal. This table makes it super clear. If the driver is uninsured but known, then yes, you can claim for your car and your belongings, but notice there's a 300-pound excess, which you'll have to cover yourself. Now look at the untraced driver row. See that? A big fat no. In a hit and run, you simply cannot claim for property damage from the MIB. You have to rely on your own comprehensive insurance for that. Okay, let's throw a curveball in here. What about a slightly different and frankly kind of awkward situation? What if you were just a passenger and it turns out the person driving you was the one who was uninsured and caused the crash? Can you make a claim then?
The short answer is yes, you actually can still claim against the MIB. However, and this is a really big however, your compensation can be reduced or even refused altogether if it turns out you knew the car was uninsured when you got in, or even if they decide you should have reasonably known. It all comes down to the specifics of that situation.
All right, we have covered a lot of ground, so let's just boil it all down. What are the absolute key takeaways? What do you really need to remember if this ever happens to you?
It really just comes down to these three essential actions. Number one, and I'm going to say it again, report the accident to the police and do it fast. Number two, gather as much information as you possibly can. And number three, get an experienced solicitor on your side immediately to help you navigate this complex process. The bottom line is this: being the victim of an uninsured or untraced driver is a terrible, stressful situation, but it does not mean you are left without options. There is a system in place specifically to ensure innocent people are not left to pick up all the pieces by themselves. And that leaves us with one final thought. The MIB is, without a doubt, a crucial safety net. But it is worth asking, does having a system like this actually make our roads any safer? Or does it simply deal with the financial mess after the fact? Definitely something to think about.